What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
So back around like 2008-ish, it was announced there were going to be two different Sherlock Holmes movies. One, the Robert Downey Jr. Flick that, there's a few sequels to. And one with Will Ferrell in it. And the one with Will Ferrell in it kind of disappeared. Didn't hear about it until this year. And it finally came out, and it is doing gangbusters over at Rotten Tomatoes. 9%. The fan score, I think, is like 32%, something like that. But I enjoyed it. Going into it, I wasn't expecting much. I mean, Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly aren't really known for... I know they're going to be goofballs in it. Clearly, I know they're going to be goofballs. I didn't really go in. I didn't really realize it was going to be more of like a spoof movie, though, because in a lot of ways it had that. It was at that level of ridiculousness, kind of like Scary Movie, that franchise, Naked Gun, Hot Shots. How it's like there's some current references which will instantly be outdated. But then there's other... It's kind of difficult to defend in a lot of ways. I can 100% understand why people would hate this movie, but for whatever reason, I went in with the right mindset, and I had a good time. Is it a movie that I think I'll ever revisit? No, it's not a movie that I will necessarily even recommend to people. It's not horrible. If it was on somewhere, I wouldn't be mad to have to watch it, like some movies that are just... Like, I would rather watch this than any of the DC movies. I mean, maybe Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was all right. But all the other DC movies, I haven't seen Aquaman yet, but Suicide Squad, the Justice League movie, Batman vs. Superman, all those movies were just a different level of horrible. Where this one, it's like, at least this one's coming under the guise of being a comedy. I know I'm expecting it to not be a spectacular film, but I'm hoping for a funny movie. And there were some funny moments in it. There was, some of the gags were already played out in the trailer. It was funny how it did reference kind of types of scenes that were in the Robert Downey Jr. version, as far as him breaking things down. But I don't know. It was okay. It was okay. It was okay. I was not expecting the spoofness of it. Was not. There's a scene where throughout the whole movie, Will Ferrell, Sherlock Holmes, is trying to figure out what hat goes best with his style. So he's trying on different hats throughout the movie. There's a scene where he's literally just going through a bunch of different types of hats. And one of them, of course, being the climate and times that we're in today, he pulls out Make England Great Again hat. So it's the typical red with the shitty white embroidery, similar to Trump's horrible addition to fashion. But it wasn't even like a hat. It was just like almost like a fez. I don't know what they're called, where it's just round and then almost like a top hat without the bill. I don't know what type of hat that's called, but so it wasn't even the same style of hat. And it's a joke that's kind of, I would imagine, pretty played out. But it's one of those things where it's like instantly outdated. Like, so many of those, if you go back and watch like Hot Shots or Naked Gun, there's going to be tons of references that are just outdated. And the comedy, I guess, holds up good enough, but it really relies, like a lot of those jokes rely on knowing what the reference is, which is actually very similar to the DC movies. Now that I compare the two, with DC movies, if you don't know the references, the movies are pretty dog shit. This one, the plot's pretty basic, so it's not like there's anything hinged on these references being understood, but it was okay. I had a fun time. I thought it could have been more, but it really reminded me of those like 90s comedy movies which kind of makes it feel out of place today, because so many comedies are done really well. I mean, comedies have come a long way. I mean, it was forever before like the 40-Year-Old Virgin and like all of those movies that Apatow came out with, where it almost grounded the comedy instead of making comedies always ridiculous. So there's a wide spectrum with comedies, and this one's on the side of the spectrum where it's got literally no depth. Any depth that this movie is trying to establish or anything that it's trying to say is done with a reference, which may or may not hold up. But 9 is pretty harsh. 9 is pretty harsh. I saw a lot of movies this past year, and some of them are just, I'm curious. Let me see if this movie somehow has a worse score than A Wrinkle in Time, which is by far the worst movie of last year or this year. Last year, 2018. All right. A Wrinkle in Time is a 42% on Rotten Tomatoes. 42%. That should be 1% on Rotten. That's 42% is just because Oprah's in it. Oprah's in it. It can't get any less than 40%. Oh, we'll put it at 42 then. A Wrinkle in Time was by far the worst movie I've seen, not only this year, one of the worst movies I have ever seen. A Wrinkle in Time. Horrible. No way should that have a 42%. And this movie is leaps and bounds better. It just like the trailer for Holmes and Watson is worth more than 42% compared to A Wrinkle in Time. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. That is horrible that A Wrinkle in Time is 42. It is the most ridiculous thing I've seen this year. Bad. I mean, just the fact that just John C. Reilly, just his name should put Holmes and Watson above A Wrinkle in Time. Just his name alone. And they gave fucking 42. But yeah, Holmes, you can wait for it to be streamed. It's okay. It's okay. I was very high when I saw this movie, right? Maybe that helped contribute to my enjoyment of it. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. But for sure, go see a movie high, especially a comedy. But I would imagine there's a bunch of movies that I saw this year that I would enjoy this better than this past year. But it is what it is. It's just really outdated references. It'd be like watching a movie that was done in the 90s and had some like Clinton blowjob joke in it, where today it's like, whatever, man. Like, do you see the guy in charge now? Like, we were so concerned about a dude getting a blowjob from his secretary that, like, you could admit to sexually assaulting a woman now and still become president, and be outwardly racist and still become president. And then this movie got 9%. This is just a travesty that this movie got. It should at least get 10%. At least 10%. Double digits, at least. Wrinkle in Time, 42. This just makes me feel horrible for our society that Wrinkle in Time is 42%. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Holmes and Watson. It was okay. It was fun. Getting to see them like a period comedy was fun. You know, making gags with like comparing technology then to now. The female characters in the movie were fun. I enjoyed the love interest that Will Ferrell had. You know, I forget her name and I didn't bring up the thing for. I know I do have it here. Really wasn't that bad. It's so surprising that it's 9%, and just hearing people not happy with it is just insane too. Yeah, I don't know. Hugh Laurie's in it, which I thought was great. Although it's hard to tell it's him because he has his normal English accent. Anyway, new episodes of this show come out every day. Subscribe everywhere. Binge the show over patreon.com/inspireddisorder, inspireddisorder.com for all of my work, at Ray Taylor for me on social media. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out!